Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. How is it going, folks? How is it going? After a long time, I'm good. So glad to see you back again. All of you, say hi in the chat. Who all are here? Say hi, say hello in the chat. If your friends haven't joined in yet, ask them to join in or just drag them so they can sit right along with you. And today we are going to talk about what they won't teach you in a design college. What they won't teach you in design college at all. So lucky that you're here, whether you're from the design college or not. We're going to talk about that, all of that today. And the three topics that largely we will cover are data, tech, and systems, and what they are. And let's see some hello in the chat. Hit that like button so the people know that we have already gotten started. And if you are new here, we talk about product management and design, and today we are talking about what they won't teach you in design college, like the title says, and like the thumbnail says, etc., etc. And if you haven't checked it out already, you should definitely check out the tweet and RT it so other people know that it's happening. We'll wait for a few seconds for people to join in, and meanwhile, I will say hello to you folks. We see Mihir Sharma, who is in the chat. Hello, Mihir. I see Praneeth, I see Mohammed, and I see Ibn. Hello, folks. Says that I came to Growth School office 2 times to meet you, missed it. Oh, Praneeth, all right. Did you just come to meet me? In that case, like, definitely, like, reach out before you just show up. But if you're coming for other stuff, let's see if it happens to be in some, correct timing. Um, all right. I see Wandering Pixel. Hello, Wandering Pixel. Good to see you here. Product management course updated one, please. Mohammed, the one that is out there is not outdated. Is there something that you're missing there that you would like there? Priyansh says, hello Sid, live after a long time, loved the last video, definitely want more of PM Didi, definitely. And it's kind of scary, I'm writing the new script around design systems, and I don't know if PM Didi will make, fits in that video. But we gotta figure out, I have a feeling that I'll get cancelled if I don't put PM Didi in the next video. What do you folks think? I see Sumit J, who joined the first person to join in. But yeah, we want Anath. Yes, Anath should. I think I want to, maybe remake the product management course in a video format instead of a live stream format. So there'll be less breaks, etc. And probably bring in characters like Anath in there. But maybe in an English video as well. We don't know. Let's see. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. If you stick around till the end today, I may reveal who is the next character who will make it to YouTube video. Meanwhile, you can throw your guesses right in the chat here, and let's hear it. Let's hear who is here. I see Prerna. Hello, Prerna. Good to see you here. The stream is gonna be long, so hold on tight and grab some popcorns. Anath has a special fan base. Anath has a special fan base, and so does PMDD. So we gotta figure out how does that play out. All right. Hey Sid, how you doing? Hey Sumit, good to see you. Yeah. And I see NNG Baba ko mat bulana this time. Actually, in design system, NNG Baba may actually come. The way you folks have named, just figured out the inspirations behind these characters is just remarkable. Peach, headed princess, pink princess, let's call her pink princess, and then we see Sai Swaroop, who's here, who is one of the OGs, and along with Wandering Pixel and VC Karthik. So welcome all of you. Today we are talking about what they won't teach you at a design college. And just to clarify, why won't they teach you at a design college? Like, what's the issue? Why can't they teach you this at a design college? It's not their fault. This thing is, today what we're going to talk about are some of the things that you can only kind of learn when you are actually practicing design, when you're actually in the industry. So it is not their fault, but good to see you folks here, and you can send it to your designer friends in colleges as well and see what they have to say. And, At any point, if you find any slide interesting, feel free to take a screenshot. This video will stay live. You can always access it. This live stream will be available to all of you. And at any point your mind is blown, put that mind blown emoji in the chat and take a photo. Take a photo of the live stream or take a screenshot if you're watching it on phone, and just put it on Instagram or put it on Twitter and tag me. I would love to know what are the points, what are the specific things that blew your mind. Now, this entire presentation was developed as a talk that I've given at multiple startups, at multiple design groups. Recently, the most developed version of this talk was shared at the Maker Summit, I think the last version, by Inc. 42. And you would have seen a bunch of tweets going around at that time. And recently, it was shared with all the design students I presented it to at GrowthSchool. So that is what we are sharing with you today, because it is ripe, and this is the last time I'll be presenting it. After this presentation will be grandfathered, and I'll be working on developing some other presentations, because this will be available for free for everyone. So let us get started. Let us get started today to learn about what they won't teach you at a design college. Are you folks excited? Are you folks excited? Let's see fire emoji in the chat if you folks are ready. And meanwhile, I will just check out who is, we see Jyoti Prasad who has joined. Hello, Jyoti. Good to see you in the chat. Hey, Siddharth, first time here learning. Let's learn something. Karthik, good to see you here. Himanshu is also here. So good to see you folks. Let's see fire emoji in the chat if you folks are ready. And we're going to talk about all of this today, right now. I see some fire emojis rolling in. Let's see more. Let's see more rolling in. All right. We are ready. I see Om Singh as well, who has joined in the chat. All right, let's get started. All right. Okay. Not enough fire emojis, folks. Not enough fire emojis. We need the fire emojis. We need Bangalore is like nice weather. I'm feeling like nice and, lazy. We gotta fire it up around here. We gotta fire it up. Let's see that fire emoji. I see Anshul, I see Atharva. All of you folks are, welcome faces here. Like, good to see OG folks. All right, let's get started. So when you, join into design, this is what the picture to you would be given, right? These are the things we worry about. Shadows, colors, and lines, and layout, and typography, and grid, and visual communication, and micro interactions, and flow, and layers, and naming your layers. Have you put auto layout, and have you put it the right way? Have you put it the right way or not? And all of that stuff. But is that what design is about? Is that what design really is about? Are those the problems you really face when you're working as a designer? The problems you will actually face when you start working. What's the difference it's gonna make, huh? Is this design actually gonna be effective? Like, what is this design even for? How do we know that that's actually a use case? Is there even a use case? Do people even do that? I don't think this is technically possible. Will it even scale? This is a very quick fix. This I hear every single place. And tell me in chat, write me in chat if you have heard this. This is a very small, quick design change. Very, very, very small. Like small, quick design change. Can you just do it quickly? Like, it'll take you 5 minutes. Have you heard that one before? And you hear what the change is and you're like, oh boy. Oh, that is... All right. Let's hear it. Let's hear who has heard it. Who has faced this? Let's hear it in the chat. I want to know who has faced this in the chat. Okay, I see 2 yeses. All right, colleges won't teach you how to get clients. They can teach you how to get clients. But yeah, that's another thing I can add to this future version of the presentation. That's a good point, Passion Editor. All right, I don't see enough yeses. So most people's teams are not asking for quick design changes, it looks like. Well, you are in luck, looks like. But if they are, let me know in the chat. And one of the things that mostly make the design inconsistent, yeah, that is an issue that happens because of quick design changes. And how do we measure the impact of this? Especially as you grow more senior designer, these are the questions you're gonna face. Does this really need an A/B test? We can't afford an A/B test. And last minute changes will keep delaying the project. Yeah, I see already people relating to last minute changes. Well, unfortunately, this presentation will not cover the last one, not incomplete because it has many variables which are outside our control. But I mean, that's where the cliffhanger was. In a way, if you think about it, this presentation, this talk is in continuation with the last video that I made on design process. We are talking about some of the things that are at intersection with design and other teams. If you have not checked out that video, definitely check it out. But we will cover a variety of this problem today. Today, we are talking about many of these problems. Many of these problems. At the end of this talk, at the end of this video, it's at the end of this live stream, you will know much more around how to solve these problems or how to approach these problems than you do at the moment. So let's get started. So how do we, these are three questions we'll focus on today, all right? How do we measure it? First things we're gonna learn. How do we build it? Build it as in not like just design it in Figma or make a prototype, right? How do we build it, like technically what goes behind the scenes? We're gonna learn a bit of tech without coding. And we're gonna learn what does it even mean and how do we scale it? What does it mean to do scalable design? You guys don't have a last minute changes. Everyone has last minute changes. Everyone does. Sure. Yeah. All right. Oh God, my presentation is running. So if in case you're in a hurry and you're like, Siddharth, just give me the answer already. Like who's got time to watch the entire presentation? Just give me the answer. Here are your answer, people. How do you measure it data? How do you build it in engineering? And how do you scale it systems? So in case you wanted to know quick answers, done. You can hit that like button, subscribe and go home and tada, bye-bye. It was nice to see you. Shabba, khair, good night, Shubhratri, etc. etc. Love you, marry me. But if you want to know how do we go step by step, then stick around because we're gonna talk about what is data. Let's start with data. There was this slide here that was supposed to nicely slide up and down, but apparently Figma is not with me today. But here we are, we're gonna learn about data and what can it do for designers. Have you ever been beaten by data? You think that this is gonna work and data goes like, data says no. That is not working. But is stream lagging? I don't think that there's a lag. Please confirm if it's lagging for the people, but I don't see any lag issues here so far. All right, so we're gonna see, what is it that data can do and what is data for designers. I'm sorry to bring this memory back for many of you folks, but we are going to back to 8th class maths textbook. All right, thank you folks for confirming that it's not lagging. We are going back to 8th grade math textbook, 8th class math textbook. You would have seen a table like this, right? Which has number of people in the class. There are 18 people in the class, and these are their ages, right? Any of you remember it? You can do this in Excel sheet, okay? Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna ask you to remember formulas or do calculation by hand. You can use calculator. We are not mathematicians. That's not the point. Even mathematicians use like computers. All right. And there are some questions. Come on, Figma, don't rush on me like that. There are some questions we can ask, all right? There are some questions like, what's the average or mean age of the class? What's the typical, right, most common or median age in the class? And what is the age distribution like? All right? So these are some of the questions we can ask from this data. This is data with us, this table exists, and these are the 3 questions we can ask. And when we do ask that question, these are the answers we get. The average age in the class is 15.39 years, while the typical age, most common age, is 16 years. All right? Average is different than median, right? Average is different than typical. All right? And the age distribution, which is how many people have what age, looks like that graph that you can see right there. There are people at 14 years of age, then there's some people at 15, then there are a ton of people at 16 years of age, and the rest of the people are in 17 age bracket. And there are multiple kind of distributions you can learn about. There's normal distribution, there's long tail distributions, and they have different features and different meanings and how we look at them, etc., in different purposes. But that's not the point, right? The point is that you get these kind of data, right? Data is this captured information, and depending on what data you have, you can ask certain set of questions. And with the data we have, we can ask even more questions, like what's the average length of the name? What is the most common used alphabet in the name, right? What is the most common used syllable in the name, because of all the data that we have. Now, the same thing, how do we apply to products? We design products, we design UI, we design user experiences, we design variety of things. And especially digital products, how do we apply this idea of having data and asking questions from the data? Because that's what we can do as designers and really benefit from the data by asking certain kind of questions, when we have access to any kind of data. So how we do this in digital UI is called event-based analytics. Long back, I did an animated carousel post on my Instagram on that. If any of you have seen that, give shout out to you, and you can say in the you can tell me in the chat. I remember if you remember that one, but that is how we do that. And what is event-based analytics? What is even like? It sounds heavy, Siddharth. These are all heavy words, but tonight you will learn all about it, and you will sound super smart as well. All right, 26 live, and very few likes. What is this, folks? Dahej mein leke jaoge, as one YouTuber should say. Please hit that like button. And we're talking about this thing called event and properties. These two magical words, these two magical concepts, they're not magical after we will know what they are. They're really simple concepts, but that is how we capture data, and basis on this we build our analytics layer, right? So what is an event and what are their properties? Imagine a landing page, right? I've taken a simplified wireframe of a landing page right here, and you can see there's some title, there's some hero section, and you see two call to actions, two buttons. One is a main CTA, a call to action. That's what it stands for, CTA, call to action. And there's a fallback button, like a secondary CTA. You can imagine it could be like buy now, subscribe, sign up, or learn more, or like, contact us, sale, or anything like that, the secondary buttons. Now, what can you ask? What about, can you ask about user behavior when people use this page? How can we measure it? What do we want to measure? And just some ideas we're going to look at, right? So I want to know that if a button was clicked, right? Two things I want to know. If a CTA was clicked, right? Or if my no more button was clicked, right? So I can, turn those to events. So that first event is, hey, somebody clicked the CTA. So CTA clicked in is an event. Or I can say no more button clicked. So that is one event. Plus, whenever this event happens, right? Whenever user does that action, a code fires something on the client side, whether it's an app or it's a browser, and it sends that data to server that this happened. And along with the fact that it says, hey, CTA was clicked, right? It also sends along some properties. And those properties can be things like, you can have things like, hey, what was the color of the button? Maybe you have a variety of color of the button and you want to see which one gets clicked more. So here we send color red. Or you can have whatever's the text here. Maybe we use sign up here. Maybe we use get started here. You can have sign up, right? And where was this CTA, right? Was it in the hero section? Was it in the header? Was it in the footer? Because you can have sign up button in a lot of places. So I can send placement of the button. And you can imagine there are a variety of things I can send, but these are some couple of ideas, and the same thing I can do for the fallback button, right? And there are some by default, most of these analytic tools that do this. For example, Google Analytics is the most common one that you will hear. GTM is the layer most people use to bridge that now. So you will hear Google Tag Manager, GTM name as well, as designers working with your data teams or marketing teams. You will also hear Mixpanel, Amplitude, etc. as well, who also are industry standard when it comes to event-based analytics. But there are some standard properties that they will send with all events. For example, what was the browser? Was it Chrome? Was it Safari? Was it Firefox? And what is the operating system? Was it Windows? Was it iOS? Was it Android? And which version of Windows? Which version of Android OS? Or which version of iOS? And what was the date and the time? What was the IP address? What was the screen resolution? What was the device manufacturer? And on and on and on and on and on. There's a ton of data that gets sent with each of these actions. And you are not limited to these actions. For example, one of the most basic events that all analytics things will give you, including basic Google Analytics, when you install it on your website, is page view event, that somebody viewed this page, right? So you can imagine this page itself, what you're looking here, has 3 events, not 2. How many people viewed the page, how many people clicked the button, and which was CTA, and how many people clicked the no more button, right? If you're so far with me, right, like put the fire emoji in the chat. Let's see the fire emoji in the chat. I want to know if there are any questions you have so far that is not clear. Now is the time to ask them out. We'll hear it. And meanwhile, I'll quickly say hi to people who have joined us recently in the chat. Hello, Akshay. Hello, Mukul. Hello, Sai Swarup, who says, thank you, Sai Swarup, for reminding people to hit that like button if you're learning something new. Udit Shakya is here. Great to see you, Udit. And this is one of our OGs, those of you who don't know. Sommi says, hello King, I've been learning UI UX from live stream, Telegram, group conversation help me. Hey, thank you so much for that shout out, Sami. I'm so super glad that I was able to be of some help. I don't know if my approach is right or wrong, self-taught designer, but I'm very data oriented in terms of design. It helps me iterate. That's awesome. All right, we see fire emojis in the chat. That means you're right along with me. That means by the end of the stream, you're gonna know a lot more than than we started. So let's continue. All right, let's continue. I'm going to take all the questions at the end. If you have a question, if it doesn't get addressed, don't worry. Keep it noted on the side. Just pen it down or just keep it in your notes app. And remember to post it in the end when we are addressing all the questions. All right. Now, I can simplify this entire thing as well. For example, I can just say, hey, just give me two events. I would just want to have two events, viewed page and click button. And I can actually send which button it was in the property. So there are a variety of ways to do it. And here we're going to take this example and build some graphs from this data. We can build a table, but a table is not that interesting. Come on, like we're designers. Let's look at some nice looking graphs, Let's look at some nice looking graphs. All right. So this is one graph you can have, right? On this axis, you have time, right? Which is over time what is happening. So this graph is showing us, this is a time graph. And on the y-axis, you have number of users, right? So taller the line and the point on the line, the more number of users we are talking about. What we are measuring here is how many people clicked the no more button, which is purple line, and how many people click the sign up button, which is yellow line. It doesn't matter what the time frame here is, but this is how you can see. We can say, hey, let's say on the start of the day, these many people clicked this button versus this button, then this button versus this. And we can just keep measuring it time by time by time and, build like over time how many people were clicking which button. We can, by the way, ask two things. How many people were clicking this button and how many times the button was clicked. Because one person can click one button multiple times for multiple reasons. You may have come earlier, started signing up, close the tab, then started again. So one person can click the button multiple times. Asking how many times a button was clicked is different from how many people clicked it, right? So if you can imagine, if there is some metric called how many times button was clicked and how many unique people clicked the button, if you divide number of times, let's say 100 times a button was clicked, but only 10 unique people clicked it. That means on average, one person clicks that button 10 times. It's just 100 divided by 10, which equals to 10, right? You can do this calculator, don't worry about the maths, but this is how metrics evolve, right? This is how you can keep building numbers to understand, to combine two numbers to understand what's happening. The line here that you see, the graph here you can see, can be modified to ask different questions. I can ask completely different question and understand completely different thing. Remember properties? Remember we looked at an event graph earlier. Now I can say, hey, I just want to know sign up button. Just tell me how many times sign up button was clicked over time. But tell me which device it was clicked on. Was it clicked on mobile or was it clicked on desktop? And here you can see, I can see a graph. I can see around here, mobile started winning out, and sometimes like these days, desktop wins out. What does that mean? It depends on what you're looking at, but the idea here is to know that these kind of questions you can ask because you have events and their properties. So first you saw I can compare two events, right? I can say, hey, sign up button clicked or no more button clicked. Then I can say within one event, if sign up button was clicked, show me based on property the split, right? You can imagine I can ask, hey, show me country wise, hey, show me time wise, show me otherwise. Like there's so many ways I can split this data and continue to ask that, right? So this is, how you can build simple understanding of time. And time, we'll look at other ways to look at this thing as well, but time is one of the important factors you will see, because usually what happens is you would have done some change here, right? And then you're seeing how things change over time, right? Wow, this really ran fast. Sorry about that. These lines that you see are called trend lines, or what we're looking at is this is a trend graph, because this is trend over time, how things are working over time, up and down. Any of you seen Google Trends? Then you know what this means. That is what the fundamental idea is. This is the lines they show, which are trend lines. And it doesn't need to be like in a line way. It could be area graph, it could be bar graph, but the point is trends happen over time. So any product metrics that you're looking over time will show you trends line like this, right? And again, these are just very introductory points. Remember, I'll be making videos specifically covering all of these topics in much more detail. But here you get to learn the very basics that can get you started, and you can do your own research. I highly encourage you to take these basics, and hopefully it won't look so daunting when you go and approach and hear these words. Hopefully it will be much more digestible. Now, Trendline is one thing, but imagine I have a ton of events, right? Imagine I have full sign up thing figured out. I want you to sign up. I build an app. I want you to sign up. And people can need to take a sequence of steps. They need to do click on sign up button first. Then a form will come. Then they need to fill the form. And then they need to click the sign up button, right? And they need to go to their email and verify their email. And when they click the verify email link, they will go to their dashboard, and then account sign up is done. Most of you are familiar with this simple sign up process, right? And I can depict it like this, like you can see on the screen, right? There's event, and all of these are events, by the way. Clicked sign up button can be one event, which fires when somebody clicks the sign up button. Then when the moment people are filling it up, at some point I can fire, okay, filled sign up form. Then submitted sign up form, that is easy to fire as an event. Then people, when they click verify, I can fire an event again that this person verified, and they view dashboard. These are simple events, right? But imagine the power of what I can do with this simple thing, right? These are sequence of steps. We know that all the people who start signing up are not always at the end of sign up. Many of you started signing up and just left in between. You were like too long or forgot or internet went away or whatever, and left the sign up in between on many apps and many places, right? Now let's see what that looks like collectively on the other side as data, right? Whoa. Imagine I can say 100 people started and clicked the sign up button, but only 80 people filled. That means 20 people could not fill it properly. Then out of 80 people who filled, only 59 actually submitted it for whatever reason. That could be an interesting place for us to look at as designers. Why would somebody fill the form and not submit it? But that's not the point of this graph. That's just a way you can look at data. Then out of 49, 59, 42 people verified their email, and 2 people, it looks like, were not able to land on dashboard for whatever reason, but 40 people in the end, were able to complete the sign up flow, right? And you can see that there's a lot of people, then less people, then less people, then less people, then less people at the end, right? And this will look like this if you were to visualize, right? We are visual people, we're designers, so let's put graph to it. This is what the graph will look like. Here, over time, over events, this is how things are happening. Or if I center line this looks like a funnel. A funnel you put on the top to, pour water in or things in. This is why it's called a funnel graph. You will hear about funnels a lot in your career. Most often than not, you will be trying to optimize for funnel in one way or the other, right? It could be a sign-up funnel. You will hear about cart as a funnel. Somebody goes to a product page, adds to cart, goes to cart page, starts checkout, enters their credit card details, checks out, etc., etc. All those steps they take, right? So this is called a funnel, and this is what you will use a lot. Anybody can tell me from these numbers. You're free to use calculator. This is not a maths test. How many? Any of you heard conversion rate? What is the conversion rate of this funnel, right? And those of you who don't know what conversion rate is, there is a starting step and there is an end step, right? And the idea is that when all the steps are taken and the last step is taken, user has converted. Here in a sign-up funnel, user has converted from not being a user to being a user. So they're converting through this flow. So that is the conversion rate of the the funnel here, which is how many people actually end up going towards the end. Any of you figured it out? 40%, I guess. 40%. I see it in the chat. And Yuvraj KMT was the first one to answer correctly. You are right. The conversion rate here is 40. 100 people started and 40 people ended completing, which is 40%. And the converse of that, how many people did not make it, how many people dropped off throughout the funnel is 60%. You can, whether, minus 100%, minus 40% equals 60%, or just calculate by drop off like shown here, right? Multiple ways to calculate the drop off rate. This drop off rate, by the way, has a special name in e-commerce, where you add things to the cart, but then you don't check out. How many of us are doing that? I'm sure many of us have something added to Amazon cart right now, which we have not checked out, right? That you dropped off practically, right? You were supposed to complete the cart from Amazon, complete the purchase from Amazon point of view, but you did not complete it. So you have not converted and you have dropped off. And that thing in e-commerce especially is called, any guesses? Any guesses? Let's hear it. Anybody knows? What does it mean? What am I hinting at? I'll wait for cart abandonment. Sumit Devagan is the first one to answer correctly. Cart abandonment rate is what you will hear often, right? And let's actually look at some key performance metrics that you will often hear about. These are not all, but these are just some common ones you will often hear about. All right. For example, in e-commerce, you will hear about conversion rate. Of course, you will hear about conversion rate. You will hear about things that depict at revenue, that hint at revenue, some sort of revenue or top line, which could be GMV, which is gross merchandise value, or GBV, which is gross booking value. Somebody like Book My Show will be looking at gross booking value, how much amount of money is coming in via bookings. They will also look at sales channel distribution in e-commerce, like are my sales coming from ads? Are my sales coming from Google search? Are my sales coming directly? Somebody like Amazon will directly have a lot of direct this thing because you just have the app and you just go to Amazon directly without going through anybody else. A lot of smaller stores will have things from ads as you see on Instagram or from Google as you Google for things, but different people, will have, different sales channel distribution. And typically an e-commerce company will try to diversify their sales channel distribution. And there's retention, and in e-commerce sense, retention means retaining people, retaining customers. In case of e-commerce, it is typically how many times can you continue to buy, repeat sale, buys again and again, right? So Amazon, you can imagine, has really amazing retention. On the other side, if you're building a social network or you're building a content or social platform, you will be optimizing for very different sort of KPIs or key performance metrics, or or metrics simply, right? Simply speaking, some numbers. So engagement rate is one of the primary ones. For example, how many people are watching, how many people doing the like thing. That's why like, share, subscribe is so important. So that is why. So as a content platform, YouTube is optimizing for engagement right now. So the more like button you hit, so hit that like button, okay? That tells the YouTube to push it more, because that's the signal to YouTube that this is, gonna be there. When you continue to watch something and pay attention to it, YouTube is like, yeah, people are paying attention. This is useful. Let's show it to more people like who are likely to see this as well. So they are optimizing for engagement rate. And every day, some of you open YouTube every day, some of you open YouTube every week, some of you open YouTube once a month, right? But for YouTube point of view, there are thousands of people every minute, right? But you will hear these a lot: Mao, wow, Dao, how our monthly active users, weekly active users, daily active users, hourly active users. When you really small website, right, somebody like my website, right, like will have monthly active users, which honestly won't have any meaning. But my Discord or Telegram could be said to have monthly active users. X number of users are active every month, right? But somebody like, let's say, if you are looking at, some more popular people, like 10x, 20x more popular people, their account will have weekly active people. Or somebody like WhatsApp, on their platform, if you're using that social media or Instagram, they will have daily, hourly active users, right? Because there's so much of volume there. And they will have retention as well, which in their case, it doesn't mean repeat sale, because they might not be selling anything, but the user keeps coming back to the platform. That's why LinkedIn keeps sending you those annoying notifications to optimize for the last one, to bring you back to LinkedIn again and again. That is why they send, some product manager somewhere is trying to optimize for this. That is why they're sending those shady ass notifications. Any of you relate to LinkedIn notifications? Put that bell icon in the chat. And while you're putting that bell icon, why not hit subscribe button and hit that bell icon as well? And in case your notifications are off for your YouTube app, you, even after hitting the bell icon, you will not get notifications. Do not worry. You can just join the Telegram group or Discord, server. The links are in the description below, where I always post. So those notifications will come to you. One of those notifications are likely to be on, in case you, like me, you do not keep your notifications on YouTube on, right? So that is one way out. All right. So if you're learning something new, hit that like button, and let's see fire emojis in the chat if you're so far with me, because we are going to the next topic. And this one runs. The next topic is engineering. How many of you are excited? How many of you have been told this is not feasible, or this state is missing, or this is missing? Engineer keeps telling this is missing, this state is missing. And you're like, why can't I think of these states before? Why are people starting to post? I have no clue, Yuvraj. All right. Let's see fire emojis in the chat if you're still with me. Still with me? Let's continue. All right, let us continue. Now we're talking about how, what are some concepts engineers deal with. I don't know how many of you are on Twitter. If you are on Twitter, open the app and you can see this happening. If your internet, especially if your internet is slow, you will see this happening. If you're watching this on phone, then don't switch, please. Obviously, needless to say, because then you will miss out on what we're talking about. And all right, I apparently have a moderator who handled this. Okay, cool. So, and if you are on Twitter app, might as well give me a follow. I'm King Siddharth on Twitter. So, what is happening here? First, we see some Twitter icon splash screen. Yeah, splash screen, let's call it. Then we see some loading state. Yeah. And then you see timeline appears. And back in the day, those of you were earlier on Twitter, you may remember Twitter briefly experimented with stories. So these screenshots are from that era. So that is why you see stories in the last screenshot. They were called fleets, if any of you remember. But we see none of the fleets have loaded, right? But there are tweets, definitely tweets here. And then we go to next. And this all happened within a matter of minute, right? So it's not like I've taken this in different times of the day. This is immediate screenshots. They're literally from a video recording of from my phone. And then suddenly we see there are fleets that come. And we see that there are more people who have tweeted. And I can tap on that button and access more tweets. Right? Right? Now, what is happening here? What the hell is going on? Any guesses? What is happening here? Any guesses? Any word that comes to your mind, any concept that comes to your mind? Let's hear it. Meanwhile, what I'm gonna start giving you hints already as I talk about some of these items, right? The first thing is, like we see Twitter is kind of app is loading. And API, Wandering Pixel says API loads. All right. We see some hints towards it. All right. That's the correct direction. That is the correct direction to go. Let's hear one more answer. One or two more answers. Those of you know. If you don't know, don't worry. We'll quickly move on. Loading. Okay, cool. Loading state is correct. Now, this is what is happening here. Let's give these names and let's understand what is happening here. First, let's call it a splash screen. All right. You may call it whatever screen. Now, at this point, the OS, in my case iOS is loading the app code, the code of the app, right? The app has a code, the Twitter app has a code, it's loading that. At that time, it shows this loading splash screen. The moment code is loaded, now it does a bunch of stuff, right? What practically it is doing is like, hey, I'm Twitter app, give me the data, and server is like, who the hell are you? Like, whose data, bro? Like, are you signed up, not signed up, have an account, not an account? You're like, oh, right. Here's my token, here's my blah, 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 I'm logged in, blah, blah. And server's like, okay, looks legitimate. Okay, here's a tweet and here's this thing. We'll look at all of this in a diagram format. But this is a bunch of this going on in both of the screens. The skeleton state that you see, where server is, where the app is asking for server for data. And what at that point happens is the moment server says, hey, you are cool, you are logged in, then app realizes, oh, I'm not the first, this is not the first time I'm opened this on this phone. I was opened a while back and I actually was logged in with the same account and I actually have some tweets, some data that I have saved from that time in my cache or cache. You would have heard that word. So it's stored on the device itself, right? If you want to test this hypothesis, later on you can switch off your internet and try to load Instagram or a Twitter app. It will still load the past data, the old data that it had in most cases, right? Unless you force crashed it. So for here we see the old data is loaded. And then it's still asking for server. The server is still sending the data. And then it does. Finally, the first load happens from the cache. And then finally, we got the data from server. And it says, oh, I have new tweets. Obviously, I have new tweets. Many people have tweeted since this data is old. And by the way, we have fleets. The reason it doesn't show you fleets that it got earlier, because fleets expire after 24 hours, right? So that is why you will see these things happening. Now, again, you don't have to remember all of this. You can come back and rewatch it to understand it conceptually. The concepts are important, not necessarily these names, right? Because websites work differently, apps work differently. The fundamental concept that we are learning here will remain the same, that there is a lot of back and forth that happens, right? We have to, and as you can see, we have to factor that in design, right? So Twitter designer had to look at this. Now let's draw a diagram and understand what we just talked about. The operating system, the OS, in my case iOS, loaded the Twitter app. Then app code was like, hey, server, I'm Twitter app, give me data. And server is like, bro, who are you? Like, tell me something. Like, tell me who you are. So app is like, okay, here's my session cookie. And server was like, cool. And app is like, oh, cool. Here's my cache. Okay, it shows the cache. And then it's like, server, bro, like, but still I need data. Yeah, like, give me fleet data, give me tweet data. And server is like, cool, fine. Here's your tweets and here's your fleets. And over the internet, they travel long, long miles from Twitter servers to your phone, and finally they show up. Right? This is roughly what plays out. This is really oversimplified. If we really get into the technicals, there's no end to the there's the layers of networking are just immense. I don't want to talk about SSL handshake and device certification and root certificates and app rendering. Oh, we'll keep it simple. What we're gonna do is color code this chart. As designers, come on, we love color coding stuff. Oh. So we color code this. There is stuff that is happening on the left, there is stuff happening on the right. And you can see app code, OS code, app code, app code. This we call client side, right? Or front end. Then you see server. This we call server side or back end, right? You would have heard these terms today. Now you know what they mean. All right. As you can see, front end, back end. Engineers who work on the client side code, write HTML, JavaScript, app codes, Android code or iOS code are typically front end engineers. People who write back end code largely around servers, data things are typically called back end engineers. There is also a model who doesn't care about either front end, back end, and they are called hybrid engineers. But engineering is not what we are here to learn. The basic concept is that there is something called a front end and there is something called a back end. Right? And both of them are connected by something. And what is that something? That something, my friends, is internet. Right? Internet is in between. My app is on my phone. It's talking to its Twitter server. How? The internet. That is why when you switch off the internet on your device, it can't get you new tweets. You're like, Siddharth, come on. Like, what am I, dumb? Is this what we are here to learn? Like, how internet works? And I'm like, yeah, kind of, sort of, because what we're going to learn about is really, really important to understand this. What happens when you do something on the internet? What happens? Like, let me give you a hint. What if your internet was to slow down or your mom accidentally or one of your friends accidentally switched off the Wi-Fi right now? What will happen? What will happen? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I'm going to do drum roll. The chat is silent. The chat has no answer. The chat is speechless. What is happening? There is lag. Like there's lag in answer from you folks. There is lag on the internet. Lag. Let's write lag in the chat. For once, I will ask you to write lag in the chat. Let's hear it. Lag in the chat. Let's spam the chat with lag. Lag. Let's hear it. Buffer, lag, any words you have for it. Loading. Or let's put that emoji. I'll turn off the lights and go outside. All right, let's fill the chat up. Like, this is not enough. Lag, yes, Farah. Yes, correct. Rocket is onto it. All right, lag happens. And lag is just a common word. Lag can be on multiple places. Remember when somebody on the stream was like, hey, bro, there's a lag? I was like, can other people confirm if there's a lag for them as well? Because you understand there can be lag on my side, there can be a lag on your side, and there can be a lag on God's or YouTube side as well. Yeah? All right. Asynchronous is the word. Asynchronous. Any of you heard this word? Asynchronous. Which means eventually. So everything on the internet happens asynchronously, which means it happens eventually. These pixels, these thing that is captured by my screen, taken by OBS, turned into pixel, done processing, sent to YouTube server, is sent over, and then sent down from YouTube server to your home. But there's no guarantee it will land or not. It will land eventually, and that eventually you will not notice if this internet speed everywhere is really, really fast. But once in a while, things don't work out. And there are a lot of things that may not work out. For example, there may be a render lag. There may be a latency issue, right? There may be a downstream lag, upstream lag, server lag, this kind of lag, that kind of lag. There's a ton of stuff that can happen. For example, when IRCTC, when you're suffering IRCTC, you're like, load ho ja bhai, load ho ja, please, just, I wanna book a ticket, just please load. That is a server side lag. The server is overloaded. When our friend here was like, your stream is lagging, but it wasn't lagging for any of you, his internet was lagging, right? There was a latency issue or downstream issue with his connection. There can be an upload issue from my connection, right, as well. So as you can see, the lag on the internet can originate from, and lag is a reality that engineers deal with. That is why apps have this, this entire thing that they do, that there's no guarantee data will come, and we need to handle that thing. So you are like, great, Siddharth, this is how asynchronous works. I have learned this new word, and when I will use this word asynchronously with my engineer friends, they'll be impressed. They'll be like, wow, asynchronicity, wow, eventuality of the internet. Well, then you are like, Siddharth, but honestly, honestly speaking, you can see, everything's, and I want to give you a visual example of what asynchronously means on internet, because we are designers. So before we move on to the next poor joke, this is what asynchronous essentially is. Everything that you want to show to your user, if it is arriving over the internet, remember, there is no guarantee it will be there just like that. You will need to factor in eventuality. And this is one of the aspects you have to factor in from engineering point of view. So there are many others, right? So it's natural for you to ask, Siddharth, so all of this facade, all of this presentation you made just to tell us that there are loading state we should design. That's it, like skeleton states and loading state, and give engineers a lot of loading states. I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's the starting point of it, and your engineers will love you when you have this discussion with them. What data, how can we send it, what will come faster, what will come later, right? But loading states is not it. I wanted to focus on one word that many of you already, I know, use the word loading state in the chat. The important part is not loading anymore. The important part is states. Any of you know what is coming up? And if you are still along with me, we're going to the next part. Hit that like button if you haven't hit it already. If you're learning something new, if you like it already, hit, make sure you subscribe. And let's see fire emojis in the chat if you write along with me. I gotta test. I gotta know if you're, right along with me. Let's see it. Lazy loading is a solution, right? That is one of the answers. Yes. All right. We're gonna talk about states, and this is something engineers deal with as well, but this brings us something closer to. And Wandering Pixel has already taken on to my next question. Brilliant, Wandering Pixel. What other states that you know of? That was my next question. Write in the chat what other states that you know of. Wandering Pixel has already mentioned error state and success states. What are the states? Loading state, error state, success state. What other states are there? And this brings us to our next topic, as you folks write in the chat what other states that you've heard of designing systems. And Gopi Krishna Aditya Gantha has given us the best answer that will lead us there. Empty states, or default states, as Jivanshu has put, or disabled state, as Wandering Pixel has put. Brilliant. You folks are so brilliant. Right on point. You're right on point. We are talking about so many states: active, inactive, hover, loading, default, empty. All of these are states. Let's talk about UI. Come on. UI looks super simple. UI is like, oh, come on. UI is super simple. And won't our non-designer friends love to tell us that, right? I mean, they are the ones asking for small design, quick change, right? And last minute change is like, yeah, just do it. It just changes. We just changed our mind, right? Like right now, bro, we didn't decide, right? But it isn't simple. And who else to tell us? Those of you right here will know. Why isn't it simple? Let's take a look. And those of you have struggled explaining this to your managers or to your product managers, send them this link to this video, and maybe if they don't have time to watch the entire thing, just link to this timestamp, because this is going to be important. We saw Twitter, great, but let's come to the Instagram. Who has stories? Who stole it? Instagram stole it from Snapchat, and then other people stole it from Instagram, and the world goes on. But we're looking at Instagram today because way more popular app, and more of you are likely to be there, so give me a follow. I'm King Siddharth there as well. All right, so we're looking at Instagram. And what do you notice here? They have stories too. Damn. All right. Let's look at their stories. And simple, right? Instagram stories are so simple. They are just circles. Just circles, right? Just circles. Somebody, If you showed it to one of like, people probably in your team, they're like, yeah, like, did it take a designer entire day to design this even? Thank you so much, Sandeep Baral, for that super chat. Really, really appreciate it. And earlier, we also received a super chat from Govind Bohra. Thank you so much, Govind Bohra. Unfortunately, that is not the topic of the live stream. Won't be able to take in this one, but we'll try to cover it at the end of the thing. But thank you so much for the love and support. Really, really appreciate it. All right, so we're looking at these things, that these circles, right? These simple looking circles, but then you realize, wait a second, they are not just circles. They are a series of circles. And the circle virtually imaginative space, they extend beyond the screen. So if you follow a lot of people, you will have a lot of circles. Yeah? And you're like, Siddharth, come on. Like, as a designer, we know all of this stuff. But then you look closer and you notice something more. There are different types of circles, right? There is one circle for me. And in fact, that has two types. When I have a story, which looks like this, and when I don't have a story, which looks like, with a plus button. And then there's a new story wala circle, right? There's a new story circle. And then there is some person who's live, and they have this live thingy on their circle. And then we see there is a circle for people whose story I have already seen, which grays out. And like somebody mentioned that they have changed the colors and they continue to change the color. This presentation was made a while back. So pardon my senses designers, your keen eyes have noticed the wrong colors, but unfortunately I've not updated them to the latest whims of Instagram. I apologize, but we'll get back. All right, so there are different types of circle for different purposes. And there are close friend circles as well, green circles, yeah. So, like Zaba Zaba has mentioned, interesting name, Zaba Zaba. And we can classify them, right? And for those of you come from Figma world, you'll be like, let's call them variants. And those of you come from engineering, you'll be like, let's call them states. You like to use both words. I'll come to that. But there are variations of that story component, right? Of that element. And there are states of that story element. And how do you differentiate? Figma calls everything variants, and engineers will largely, by and large, will call everything state. They will talk about state machines, right? So the active state, that is why whenever you see this error state, the term originating from engineering, and they will hear the word state, because state management is one of the biggest problems that engineers deal with. We'll not get too much into that, but you should know a little bit background for some conversations when you try to strike a conversation and try to impress the engineer friends you have in your team. All right? But how I like to differentiate between variations and states, or variants and states, is like so, right? Oh, come on. Data and system picks which variant to pick, which variant to use. For example, is it my story? Is it live or not? It's the data deciding. The data is live stream, so there will be a live button. I, as a user, don't get to decide whether this will be live or not for me when I'm looking as a viewer, right? And if data, my story is there, it'll look like this. If it's not, it'll look like something else, right? But my action decide whether the story comes in a seen or not seen format. So states are affected by user action. So this is a vocabulary you can develop, because you would want to differentiate in many cases things that are states that are achievable by user action, and states that are dictated by the system itself. Typically, they will have different kind of consequences, right? So there can be a ton of states, right? And this is how you can differentiate between them. And there are all of a component. And here is a quick rule. This I've not put in slide, but I would like to tell you folks that I've spoken about in multiple live stream, but this is really important to mention here. One of the ways to have a good coverage of the states, and when you're trying to think about everything, all the states that can happen, especially in composite components or views or screens that you're designing, is think about 0, 1, infinity. I love this simple term, 0, 1, and infinity. We have spoken about 0, 1, and infinity in the live stream where we're talking about UI design mistakes that you make. If you've not seen that live stream, people love that live stream. I get really good recommendations. So I will highly recommend you to go watch this stream. If you're liking this stream so far, you will love that one as well. We talk about 0, 1, infinity, what that concept briefly is. We talk about more in that stream, but what that briefly is, think about what if there was zero data, right? So if we go back to our Instagram screen, what if there was zero stories here? How will that look like, right? And zero may not be possible because you will always have your circle. So zero should be read as minimum. What is the minimum data that is possible on your design, and what will that data look like? and that is where empty state or default states of your screen come from. You're trying to see the zero data state or the minimum data state of your design, right? The second thing you want to see is one. What is the standard, or typically just one? What if there was just one story here? It would kind of look odd, but you gotta test it as a designer. You're gonna know and be okay with it. That are you okay with this? How data will look like? How a screen will look like when there's just one data item, literally just one, or the default data item, right? So it is close to minimum in some systems. So 0, 1, and last is infinity. In this case, you can follow infinite number of people, so you can see the state is really testing infinity because it's going maximum, right? Not everything can be infinity as well. They're not infinite number of people, but the idea of infinity is what is the maximum limit. It forces you to think, right? There are many cases where you can't show. Where do you show load more button? Where do you show all of that? That is all the things that will force you to think about. What is the maximum data your design can handle? That is when you will start thinking about things like character limit. Like if you're making a blog post design, you design a nice looking page and there's a nice title, but what is the maximum title that will look good? Can I write 5 lines in a title? Will that work on the design? So what is the limitation of the design? These 0, 1, infinity concept will help you test the limitations of design really well, right? Minimum, default, maximum, or 0, 1, infinity, which is easier to remember. So if you like 0, 1, infinity, if you learned that is a new concept, write 0, 1 in the chat and hit that like button if you learned something new. And we are moving on deeper into the system. And all these states and variations belong to a component, the story component. You can use the word element. Component is a word which is more preferred. It is shared between engineers and designers alike. And there are a lot. They are just not states and variations. There are other things that will be there as well, right? In a system, when you're building an entire comprehensive system for your UI, there'll be micro interaction that will happen, right? When we talk about hover, when you talk about click state, you will have copy and localizations. What are the words that are written? What are guidelines around words? What if your app supports multiple languages, right? That is called localization. Localization means translation, what you call. What are the guidelines around that? How does that happen? Because you may write sign up, but what if in German that is too long and it doesn't fit your design? So you will have to test for that as well and systemize that as well. You will have some logic around your interface. You will have states and variations like we talk about. You will have component and user interface library. You will have style guides and design tokens, and you will have design philosophy. And this comprehensive will build a system which collectively helps you manage all the design. And in fact, we have a name for such a fancy system. Any guesses in the chat? Let's see who writes it first. What can such a system be called? I wonder if there was a name for it. What if we coined a term for such a system? You know, for us designers, what could it be? Let's hear it in the chat. A design system. Indeed, Wandering Pixel. It is indeed a design system. So a design system, most of us think of the lower layers. We're like some design philosophy, some guidelines, some style guide. I'll create a UI library. I'll have my components in Figma. They'll have all the variations and states. And that's it. Yeah. Most of our design systems stay there. But there's UI logic, there's copy and localization, there's micro interaction, there's this ton of stuff I've not even covered on this one, which comes under the design system. And this is, my friends, how we scale design, right? These are the parameters. When we systemize a UI, when we systemize that is why we build component, to systemize it. It's a system now. You don't have to decide for everything. It responds to data, right? That is the idea behind components and systems and UI libraries, and evolves, version of UI libraries. We'll cover more about design system in a future upcoming video. If you want to watch that video, write design systems in the chat and keep spamming it. If you want to see that video, write design system video, so I know that is the next video you want to watch, because I am writing the script. But I don't know if you folks are interested or not. How would I know? The only way I would know, if you write design system video in the chat, or just write DSV. Just write DSV. I'm not gonna make you like just write DSP, so I know you are one of those people who are gonna see it. All right. So this was, and with that, we have covered 3 topics, my friends. Data. You understand today? Data. What is event-based analytics? How do we measure things in design? How you can start to imagine how to build graphs, how to ask questions from data. And then we also learned how engineers think about building the system and talking of front end and back end. And most of our code sits in front end, so we got to know how it's going to talk to back end and figure out 0, 1, infinity and states of our system, and figure out how to evolve and scale our UI by building systems around it. So the decisions are in the logic, in the code, in the framework itself, and it is not in the heads of the designers that are designing it. And with that, we have completed today's talk. Thank you so much for joining in. I mean, come on, Figma, you can't do this to me. It took me to the like this. I had such a nice thank you page. I had such a nice thank you page. Thank you for kill all Figma. Today Figma has been very unkind. But if you like this thing, if you had fun, let's hear all the questions. But before we get to questions, if you had fun and if you learned something new, put that mind-blowing emoji in the chat. If you learned anything new today, put that mind-blowing emoji in the chat. I see DSP in the chat already, so I know you folks want to watch it, so I will continue to work on it. Let's see mind-blown emoji in the chat if you learned something new. Those of you new here, and if you like this stream, make sure you hit that like button and you subscribe for more such videos and live streams to join in the future. And hit that notification bell icon too. If your notification for YouTube app are off, don't worry. Go to the link. There is go to the description. There's a link for Telegram and Discord server. You can join those where I send all of that. And with that, my friends, today we come to the conclusion of what they won't teach you in a design college. And now you know why they can't teach you that in a design college, because it kind of doesn't make much of a sense. But now you know. And if you want to see more videos like this, the simplest thing to do is make sure you watch it. Second, you hit that like button and you share it in all those mini groups or Slack part that you're part of. Maybe your team may find it interesting. Maybe you have a designer group on WhatsApp or Discord or Telegram where they may find it interesting. So share it around, spread this love, and help the stream gain more traction so more people can learn and we can have a nice shared vocabulary. And how was I late for this video? All right, Abhijit is here. Good to see you, Abhijit. All right. I see mind-blowing emoji, but not enough mind-blowing emoji in the chat. So most of you knew this stuff or what? You didn't learn something new? Because I want to see mind-blown emoji in the chat if you learned something new. Meanwhile, I'm getting started in the with the questions. This video will definitely add much more context now when I'll search design system again. Awesome. All right, I see that was by Sami. I hope I'm pronouncing your. We are just engaged to this content. I'm so happy to hear that. Which DS you like the most and which DS you hate the most? Zaba, kind of out of context for this one. We'll skip that. Sumijay, question. I don't know if my approach is right or wrong being a new self-taught designer, but I am very data-oriented in terms of design. It helps me idea and create. That is awesome, Sumijay. I had an interview where a senior designer asked how to design without data. It became difficult for me to ideate. What would you suggest? You talk to people, you design something and you test it out with people, right? That is, data is information, and instead of getting quantitative data, which you can build graphs on, you can get qualitative data as well. And if you don't have access to that as well, that's when you use first principles. And you can look up that, Sumit. I hope that will help. All right. Good to see you here, Jay, and just join Utsav. We are about to end the live stream, so do watch it again because all of this will be available. Did you have folks have fun? From the chat, it looks like you had fun. It looks like many of you learned something new. And I can see, and thank you so much for the super chats once again. Thank you so much, Sandeep. And thank you so much, our earlier donator, Govind. Thank you so much. And if you want to see more sessions like these, you know what to do. And before all of you go, if you're not following me on Twitter or Instagram, why not? On Twitter, I should post exclusively for all of you folks, and on Instagram, I have a ton of content. All the characters make it a personal home. They hijack my Instagram and write tons and tons of stories. Recently, we have seen PM Didi emerge as the new star of the show, and Anath, let's just say, has not taken well to that. If you want more such design drama behind the scenes without much hurt, then make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And like always, it is so much fun to join with you folks. I'm so glad to be back. I'll try to continue to be regular, at least one stream a month. And thanks to once again to all the members who continue to support this stream and channel. I had plans to, do a donation of all that amount, but I think we are running out of time. So maybe we'll do it in another Q&A stream, or maybe we'll do a special stream just for that. All the money that is collected over the course of months, some of it has gone back into YouTube, and the rest, at least 50% of it, I want to continuously donate, and to a particular, one specific particular organization. We'll talk about that organization there. And where is PM Didi? PM Didi is PMing. Everyone's simping for PM Didi. That is true. Your Webflow shit posting got me learning it. That's nice, Gopi. Webflow should be paying me for that shit posting. All right, with that, we come to a conclusion. Thank you so much for joining in, folks. This was so much fun. And as always, thank you for joining in. Thank you for watching. Good night, Shabak Khair, Shubhratri. Love you, marry me, and don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't. Like this much content for free, who's gonna give you all? The only way you can support and say thanks is just hit it, hit it, hit it right there. See you all later. Have fun. Good night, Shabak Khair, Shubhratri. Bye bye.